Wait a second. Why is it? There it goes. Okay, you're recording.
Alrighty, guys. All right. Since it's 6:01, I call the meeting to order on Monday, January 4th at 6:01 p.m. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I have a question, Joe. First,
Yes.
one of the emails we got from Bill said it was important that we set a date for pre-town meeting. Do we want to add that to the agenda, or can we do that under articles to be voted for town meeting?
We're going to do it under the articles for voting.
I make a motion we adopt the agenda as given.
Okay. Do we have a second? Okay. Any discussion? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have 2 minutes to approve tonight.
I corrected the agenda. It's just the 21st, Joe.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't reprint the draft out because I'm tired of printing the million things out. Anyway, okay, so we have the minutes of the 21st. Do we have any additions or corrections to these minutes as presented?
There's been some corrections already made. I guess Bill or somebody went through it, but there's one that I found that didn't appear to be corrected. Let me find it here. Oh, on the second page, number 8, it's under listers. Second sentence down, by the listers after the list was posted. Take the I out.
Posted, yeah, okay.
No, posited is the word, posited.
Oh, positive? Okay. I thought it was supposed to be posted.
Hey, Bill, all of a sudden, it's just a big black screen and everybody is on a little line. Did you do something?
I put up the
agenda's gone now, and it didn't go back to like normal.
My screen is black.
Yeah, so is mine.
Same here.
Just click on anybody and it'll come back up.
Nobody to click on. Okay, I'll get rid of
the little line of people.
I'll get rid of it.
Nope.
There you go.
Yeah, you go.
Now it works.
Do we have any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Alan?
Hi, Joe, it's Wendy. Can I add something to it or correct something?
Sure.
At the bottom of the first page, open hearing for the capital budget. The capital budget, as proposed by the capital budget committee, that wasn't the budget that was presented by the capital budget committee. It was the budget that the select board proposed.
No. Oh. No, it was right. Was it right? It was the capital budget that we amended.
Yeah, the capital budget committee didn't come up with that number, though. You all did, technically.
Wendy's correct. We considered what the capital budget committee recommended, and then we added to it, if you remember.
That's right. We corrected it.
And then we also took some away. But she's right. It's not the budget that they presented. No, it is not. But however, Hardy Merrill started the meeting by saying that he wished that you guys would accept and recommend to the voters a capital budget of $200,000. He did not say our budget as presented was such and such and such and such, but we like to. This is the minutes of the meeting. I don't know how else to put it. If you go up to the hearing, that's what he was presented, I guess. If you go to the minutes of the hearing, it should be the capital budget as presented. But when we got to the meeting, he said he wanted to change it.
That's correct.
So how do we want to address this?
Well, we could attach what he had presented to you guys, I guess. But it was never part of the discussion.
No, because you already changed it at your budget meeting, so that's.
Yep.
That's true, Wendy. It was changed at the budget.
Okay, so what are we changing it to?
Well, you could make a note in here. It's not part of the minutes, but you can make a note in here that the original budget as presented by the Capital Budget Committee was such and such, see the attached, but it won't be part of that's not part of the minutes because that's not what happened in the meeting.
Well, that works for me, as long as it's referenced. Does anybody have an issue with that or another suggestion?
Joe, go ahead with that. I'm sorry.
No, I don't hear anything. So how do you want to proceed here? Since we have no suggestions,
I'd leave it the way it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
There
touch
are
it.
minutes to the Capital Budget Committee meeting.
Yeah.
as long as there's a reference that a year from now, 5 years from now, somebody wants to go back and look at it, as long as there's a reference of what actually happened, I'm okay with it.
Okay, I will make a reference in brackets that see the minutes of the Capital Budget Committee.
Okay. All right, are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes of the 21st? If not, will somebody make a motion? Go ahead, Alan?
Well, apparently there was several corrections made, and I'm not looking at the corrected version, I'm looking at the version we first got. So I don't know if they all got caught, but can I just quickly go over the changes I observed and you tell me if they've already been recognized?
Go ahead.
I went through the ones that I had been changed.
Bill Kearns was town administrator, was listed twice.
That's
Wendy
correct.
Martin's name wasn't capitalized. Martin was not capitalized.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Down in number 1, the last line in number 1, there was no discussion offered on the, I think it's supposed to be relevant, 3 relevant amendments, but it says REL3 event.
Yeah, that was correct.
Did I get 6? Okay. All right, I guess that's it.
All right.
Good.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I make that motion.
Second? Sam seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the minutes that were amended for the 21st, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, the sheriff is on. I didn't realize that he was, but Mark Anderson is on. If you want to invite him to speak.
Well, he wasn't on the agenda, but I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any objections to this?
No.
Okay, so Mr. Anderson, would you like to speak?
I apologize. There might be miscommunication. I was told that I was requested to come to this meeting, and I understand budget season, things move. So if I've moved, I'd be happy to step out and let you guys conduct business, and I'll come back later.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's okay with me, but I don't know if the board is okay with this.
I think it's fine.
Okay. I know there are some concerns of the board about the patrolling and the hours and all those kind of things. So maybe you want to speak to it, or?
I guess I'm not sure what you're asking me to speak to. What are the concerns of the board?
Well, John, you want to speak to that because you had.
Sure. One of the concerns I have, I don't know what you're supposed to do while you're in town. I'm new on the board. And so whenever you were hired for that year, I don't know what the expectations of the select board were. But I go up through town 3-4 times a day, and I can stop at the store and in roughly a half an hour see at least 20 people go through the stop sign at the tavern. And that has been going on and going on for a long time. And that was one of my biggest concerns, was that it's there for a reason, and I don't know why it's not been enforced, because it's obvious.
So I think some of this comes to talking about what our contract is, what we're capable of doing during it. Grafton has one of the smallest contracts with my department. It equates to at an average number of hours, 1.87 hours a week. So roughly 2 hours a week, which covers motor vehicle enforcement as well as handling calls for service in town. Generally, most calls for quality of life requests that come to us. So to the point of where we utilize that time, it's generally towards areas that we receive complaints about. We've received complaints on Route 35 coming into the village. We've received complaints on both sides of coming into the village, as well as Route 121, and then we also get requests for patrols on some of the town roads. We do. I'd be happy to talk with you more, just to familiarize yourself as a new board member about some of the ways that we communicate to towns what we are doing with the contract. It's all available to you, not only through the billing processes, but also on our website that you can log into. I'd be happy to get into more specifics of some of the places that we've been doing work, if that's of curiosity. But there's a reason why we do discourage contracts pretty much below the level that you're at, and that's because they generally don't tend to show a significant change in specific behaviors and issues such as like a stop sign. There's just not enough consistent enforcement for people to be responsive to that.
I guess what I'd like to know is what the board expected from the sheriff's department when they were in town. Was that ever brought up in the contract, or?
It's addressed in the contract as motor vehicle enforcement in response to minor calls for service.
Well, I just think that was major, a stop sign. Whenever you're in town, you park down by the bridge to see whatever's coming down Chester Hill, which is a stop sign there. So if you parked up by the tavern or by the store, you could see that nobody stops there. And I have never seen any tickets issued for that.
So I'm happy to let my officers who patrol Grafton know to be looking for that area. We generally ask people when they identify a concern in town to let us know. Sometimes we're able to identify spots easily. Sometimes it's because of people reporting to our office that there's a specific issue they've identified that allows us to be able to come and address it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the stop sign by the inn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you also have the same situation down on 121 where there's a stop sign coming from Athens onto 121 over that bridge. People don't stop, and there have been accidents there. Especially if you're coming off Parker Hill and you're stopping to see if any traffic's coming, and they whiz by that stop sign to come onto the bridge. Another area.
I am making my notes.
Yeah. I got a question. What determines what roads that you patrol?
It's a combination of areas we've identified as being issues, calls for service, as well as just what we ask our deputies to do when they make discretionary decisions.
Well, how do you identify them?
I'm sorry, how do we identify which roads to go on?
Yeah. I'll tell you why I asked the question is I see your bills when you send them in, and it shows on there what roads you have patrolled during that month. And it's been on there quite a few times, Cemetery Road, Middletown. There's not very much that can happen there. That's a dead-end road, and it's about 500 feet long, and I don't know what that's being patrolled for, unless you were asked to do that.
So, looking at this current fiscal year, so this is going from July 1st, 2020 to present, I see that we're on Cemetery Road, Burgess Cemetery Road, once in July. And there was a request for, it looks like we're speaking to a resident regarding a theft that occurred.
I've seen on the bills the Middletown Cemetery Road. I'm just curious what roads you were patrolling and.
Sure. Yep. So back in November, we were on Middletown Road speaking to a resident regarding election concerns. Sometimes some of the roads that we patrol are also connections to other roads. I'm personally not familiar with Middletown Road, so take this more as general knowledge. But we do any road that our cruiser ends up on, we do that. We indicate that we were there. Sometimes it's something as simple as it might be one spot that there's cell phone communication. So if an officer needed to contact our dispatch to get information, sometimes they've identified places where they have cell phone connectivity. Sometimes it is, we've received requests from residents, generally speaking, again, to check on properties where they're having issues with people parking their vehicles on the property where, yeah, there might not be a lot going on, but again, these are quality of life issues that we will tend to handle.
Does the select board request what the sheriff department does, or is that a combination of the select board and the citizens of the town? I guess what I'm trying to find out is when you come into town, who has said to you, this is what we are going to do for the day? Do the selectmen request that? Or you just...
That's defined by our contract that we negotiated.
So it's in the contract?
It is. And I mean, there's a part where the select board will identify concerns for the department. If there are none, we'll do what we believe is the best service that we can provide to the town.
Okay, well, I'll have to get a hold of the contract or ask the other selectmen what they requested. That's.
John, to be very honest, since this is going on my fourth year, the contract that I saw and signed as a selectman in my first year is exactly the same as the contract that we signed last year. And I don't think anybody has actually really gone over it. And to be very honest, basically, I don't want to spend anybody's money, but for the amount of money we spend, we get very little service, and that's because we don't spend enough money. And you know, we have attempted over the years to try to curtail this and put budgets, but the townspeople are not willing to spend a lot of money on police patrols. I mean, we put up, what, 2 years ago, an article in the warrants to buy a speed sign. We borrowed a speed sign from the sheriff. They voted it down, and so there is a I don't think there's a high desire for the people in town to have more law enforcement or more patrol. I don't agree with that. I'm just giving you what I think I hear as a sense.
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
Can I ask the sheriff, are there any areas in Grafton that you would prioritize and let the board know that there's any high incidences of things that are happening?
I can certainly generate a report that would identify what we are aware of. I'm not familiar with anything I would consider to be earth-shattering that the board needs to be aware of as a trend. But again, with such a small amount of time spent, I'm not sure it's even a fair measure for the town. What the state police track might also give a better perspective, and I believe they submit that report once a month or once a quarter.
To who? Who's that? To who?
Each town is supposed to receive a report. If you haven't received one, you can reach out to the barracks in Westminster, and they should provide one.
I don't think the town has ever received a report from the state police, at least to my knowledge.
I don't.
Public knowledge.
No, you get that report that it comes with the budget. Each comes with the
Yeah, we
yeah,
don't
the
get
budget monthly report.
But the
That
sheriff
monthly
is saying
report
we
that
get-
John is referring to.
I don't want to be speaking on behalf of the state police. I may be mistaken in the frequency of it. I do know that they do provide towns with statistics regarding what the state police do in town. And Lieutenant French from the barracks, he's always been receptive to information needs when I've been in other meetings with him. So I would suggest talking to Lieutenant French for that, and he should be able to generate it for you.
Alan, you were gonna say something.
Well, I just think the sheriff's department is a little bit like the fire department. Nobody wants to pay for a fire truck until they want the truck at their house, and then they can't donate enough. And it's like, nobody wants to pay for police protection, but they don't want anything to happen. And it's like, I think it's up to the select board to decide what's appropriate for events they're having in town and set a budget and go with it. If we continue to see an increase of speeding or accidents or problems, then we need to increase the patrol, but that we have to figure that out.
Anything else for the sheriff while we're on here?
Other than thanking you for your service and your presence when you are here, it's welcomed.
Thank you for your support. We do look to try and provide the best service we can for Grafton, and certainly we understand budgetary needs and desires of towns. My personal philosophy is that this isn't just a town issue for the town of Grafton. Rural policing in Vermont has been very low for 70 years. There's numerous reports. The legislature's taken cracks at it for about 40 years. They still haven't gotten it figured out. So this isn't a simple problem. And I appreciate you guys working through it at the local level, regardless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if there are no other questions or comments, thank you for taking the time. And I think that's something that the board has to kind of come to grips with and see what is really necessary and how much money we do want to put and where should it go. And I think we have a new contract coming up in May or June, I think.
The current contract expires June 30th.
Yeah, so I guess before the contract, expires, I guess we should take a look at the wording and the language and kind of see if it meets the requirements of the board.
Very good. Well, I look forward to talking to you in the future. And if you'd like me to come back to make recommendations, I'd be happy to talk about that.
Okay.
Great.
Wish you a happy new year.
And
Thank you.
same to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Be safe.
All right. The warrants, I think, were all signed last week, so that's not an issue. Highway, Danny, are you here?
Hey, Joe, one thing on the warrants, what was the work that Lucas DeCamp did?
I don't know.
He worked on the circulator pumps in the shop. One of the big ones burnt up.
Okay, because I just see a lot of material expense and not much labor.
No, it's just a matter of he actually, I don't know if he actually billed us for the first time he came out, but it ended up being after he run a bunch of tests that the circulator circuit board was bad.
Mhm.
And there was literally a $200 difference between buying just the circuit board or buying a whole new pump. for $200 more, we bought the new pump because nobody stocks a circuit board for them. So it's just faster to have the new pump. But he is really good on that newer type of system. Working on that stuff. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I've used him. He is good. I was just curious what what he did because I didn't know.
Yep, that's what it was. It was one of the main circulator pump was bad.
That high-tech stuff is good, but it's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Denny, have you heard back from the state to see whether or not the amount of damage we had will qualify for some aid or whatever?
Yep, I talked to Mark Pickering this morning, and we discussed it. We went over what we actually spent and what they're going to accept as being part of the damage, and we're not going to meet the threshold. Our threshold is like 26,000 and change, and we're not going to even come close to hitting that. So we're on the hook for that expense ourselves. We had about $11,000 in gravel that we used.
Danny,
Yep.
when you do those calculations, that number that you have to hit, is that just materials, or are you allowed to charge time and a rate for the equipment?
They do it by cost codes, which they go by the numbers that FEMA uses. So you get to use your regular hourly rate, the cost codes for a truck, the grader, all that. And like I say, figuring everything up, we come up about $18,000, $19,000. But that's figuring everything that it costs the town for this event. And the state is not accepting anything from a 6-inch or less wash. So you got to cut about half of that numbers right out because then it's not qualified.
6
So
inches.
there's only like
depth,
6 inches
6
in
inches
depth.
in depth or 6 inches in width?
Depth. So I think he was saying, we talked today, I think there's only like 3 towns that hit their thresholds. And it's all based on what your budget is, but Wyndham hit it. They had some severe damage. Wardsboro, Rockingham, I guess they had a lot, but they're not going to hit the threshold either. So yeah, we're not going to hit that threshold number. We have still on Wyndham Hill on the blacktop. We got to fix the shoulder up there, and we have a spot on 35, a little spot before Eastman Road. We got to fix the shoulder there, but even with them numbers, it's still not going to hit that threshold.
So is there a percentage that they pay out when you hit that threshold? Is it a certain percentage, or what? How do they pick up the cost?
They go by the actual yards that you would use to fix the spot, which is always less than what you use because it's hard to put a load of gravel in just a foot wide washout. So they do it by calculations on the sites specifically.
But is it an actual? If we had $27,000, do we get $27,000 from the state?
Yes.
Danny?
Yep.
Would you, with the cold weather that we got right now and what's coming this week, will you, or did you already have a chance to replace that culvert that failed up above Don Dougal's? Where it came out of the woods there?
No, we're not. I mean, it's froze now. You're not going to dig through the frost. We have two culverts.
That's what I figured it was.
Yeah.
We're going to have to live with it. Yeah.
Yeah, until spring. Everything is, I mean, there's still some small washes out there, nothing real major. There's a few on you see on Hall Ranch and Stage. If the snow melts and have time, we'll run around and fix them. The biggest ones are the ones I mentioned on the blacktop because they're right tight to the edge of the road, and I want to get them filled in so it doesn't affect the road. As far as gravel, most of our gravel pile that's left after hauling, over 600 yards out is frozen. So, it's pretty hard to do much when you don't have the materials. There's nothing left pretty much in the Eastman Sand and Gravel. Springfield bought pretty much everything they had in the pit the next day. So with hopefully a little bit of warm weather and we can get into our pile to finish up. If not, we'll be hauling out of probably Coal River Materials out in New Hampshire to finish up what little ones we have.
Can that be added on into the cost of the 18 or 19,000 to boot?
Them number,
26?
it's under the 6 inches depth of wash, so it don't qualify.
How is a loophole?
That's all I really got on the roads. I mean, we've been dealing with the storms and stuff that have been coming. Talked to Viking Chives about the new truck. Still no date when they're going to have the body for that truck. Maybe the end of the month, they thought, but they won't give me a definite date because they said where the bodies are built in Canada, they've been having issues with COVID. So they don't know when the body will be in. We got some maintenance to do on the equipment, all the trucks, small stuff, this week, and them 2 washes, hopefully, to get done.
Danny, I think when, I don't know how we solve the problem, but next time we go out for trucks, for bids, somehow we got to hold these people to the fire. I mean,
we put a deadline on one of the trucks we did, and that still didn't work. We actually put a penalty after a certain date. The problem is they're just they won't even bid on it. Right now, Viking Chives is the only company in town to even do a body. We put them out to bid. We could have gone with MG. They're $10,000 more for the same package. For trucks, how far do you want to travel for service work? I would love to have something different. I mean, I'm the one who deals with this at night working on these things, and you call the companies and salesmen won't call you back, but do we want to travel all the way back out to New York on internationals or down to Mac? You know, that's the problem. You don't have enough companies close to pick from. There's nothing close for us.
And I just feel like somehow we're getting the shaft. That's all I look at it.
We do, because the municipalities is such a small percentage of the truck world. You know, it's even with all the state town trucks in it. The percentage for trucks is very little for that type of work. The big sales are over the road and bigger trucks like 10-wheelers and stuff. So, you know, we're kind of like a specialty even with the state. So you don't have the pull with them. I mean, John saw it, you know, back 20 years ago when he was there. It's the same thing, you know. You're just a number to these people, as far as I'm concerned. They tell you what you want to hear, and then when you call them, you know, I was told this whole package for this new truck was set on the ground waiting for the truck to show up. Now when I bring that up, the salesman won't even call me back.
Probably
You know,
gave it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I think somebody else
probably gave it to somebody else.
So.
Well, there's nothing we can do about it now. It's kind of sad because if something major happens to the old International with Freightliner there, the small truck, then we're going to have to pay money for a truck that we're not going to use, and it's sad when you already spent the money or put the order in how many years ago? A year ago. I mean, we're still sitting here.
Yep.
But anyway,
The other question, of course, is with the pickup down, if the Freightliner goes, then we're going to have 2 vehicles out of service for taking care of storms.
what's the status of the pickup? Are they going to total it? Are they going to fix it, or
They're going to fix it.
They
They're
are.
going to fix it. Yep. They figure they're estimating $14,000. You have to hit 85% of the value before they total it, I guess.
So is the truck being fixed now, or is it still with the garage?
I am waiting for the adjuster to send me back names of shops that will do that type of work.
Okay.
That was an email today that he was sending around pictures in his paperwork, you know, what he writes up. So I think he said 3 different body shops, to see if any of them, if they're able to do it and get it in a timely manner.
Anything else on the highway, Danny?
I don't have anything else.
Anybody have any?
I don't suppose the insurance company would lease a pickup for us while we're waiting for that one to get fixed.
It's whatever you have for insurance coverage, and I don't. That's at the office. We just get the cards.
Bill, do you know the answer?
I do not. I'll find out.
I prefer that the guys check roads with a town vehicle or a lease vehicle that's signed to the. I told Danny when I heard what happened, I was happy it happened to a town truck and not one of their personal vehicles.
Well, we have 3 other town trucks that we run, so that's what we'll be checking roads with.
Well, I understand.
Anything else for Danny on highways? Okay, if not, let's move on to the articles. We are not going to vote on the articles until the 14th. But does anybody have any concerns or questions or anything else on the articles that were presented?
Can I say something first, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Okay. If you go through what I sent you, starting at the top, a lot of that is just for your information. But right after the top, there is a date and a time. I'd like you, at some point in time, and Kim would like you, the sooner the better, to decide the date and time of the pre-town meeting. Because the sooner you decide that, the sooner we can get word out, the more people will know about it. And then, with regard to all the articles, I had sent them to the town attorney. He has some minor language changes and of the way he preferred that it would be laid out, but that is all. So if there is any, unless there's an objection to anything that's presented there, or if there's an error in the amounts, I think Kim and I could take care of those edits. And then again, thirdly, at the end of this, I'd like you to, at the end of the meeting, I'd like you to set a meeting for August 14th at 4:15 in the afternoon, so that we can.
August?
I'm sorry, at January 14th. I don't know why I said August. What the heck am I thinking? January 14th at 4:15, so that we can finalize the articles, and because 4 o'clock is the deadline for anybody to petition. I haven't heard of anybody petitioning, so that's where that is.
So Bill, these articles that we're looking at right now, they're in a format just for the pre-town meeting discussion, I'm assuming, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't have public comment on each one of them when it comes time for what's going to be presented on the ballot.
That's correct. I'm presenting them as in the agenda, but they will be the same articles that you will use. We'll just have to reword them.
All right. Okay.
Go ahead, Mary. Mary has a question.
Thanks, everybody. I just read the preliminary wording on the $1,000 ask to support our food efforts at the church. And my reading of the wording, at least on the version that I saw, was that it's to support the Grafton church. And I want to be really clear, since I don't expect you guys to all agree to this, but I would like to be clear that what we're asking for is to support with our food efforts, which has been over and above anything we've ever done before. I'll answer any questions you have, but the letter that I sent to the Board of Selectmen doesn't say to support the church, just to support our food efforts.
Well, okay. What it actually says is that shall the town of Grafton raise $1,000 to support the Grafton Community Church community programs. That's the language that's presently here.
I guess I didn't see the rest of that sentence on the version that I read. Okay. Well, community programs, maybe we could add something about the food in the wording. That would be great. It's mostly for the food pantry, Joe, constantly keeping up with filling our shelves.
Well,
Okay,
I
if you wish, we can change it to be just for the food pantry.
yeah, if you want to talk to Bill and you want to change the language, we're certainly welcome. And then when we have the meeting on the 14th, you get public comment and it can be changed again. But I mean, if you want to write the language so that you think it's best for the church, then by all means.
Okay, great. I'll work with Bill. Thank you very much.
Seems like it'd be pretty easy. Just take the S off from programs and insert food. You have it right there. Right?
Thanks, Al. That'd be great.
Right?
It's
Pretty
easy.
close.
Okay.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Are there any other concerns or questions on the proposed warnings that you want to discuss now before the 14th?
Joe, I
Yeah?
did have,
Who's that?
I did talk with
Okay.
Michelle,
Yep.
on the delinquent tax collector portion of it that you have on there.
Mhm.
She did a little bit of research, which she hasn't been able to do a whole lot, not being able to be in the office. But the little bit of research she did do, she has found that several towns have passed it over to town managers who deal with it. There are quite a few towns that have the treasurer deal to become the delinquent tax collector. And a majority of the towns are still doing it the way we are doing it. And some towns are only charging 7% is going towards the town, and 1% is going towards helping to pay other expenses. So Michelle couldn't really give me it caught her off guard. She wasn't prepared. She saw a copy of the articles, and so she had some mixed feelings about it. She definitely wants to continue for the next 2 years at least, just to learn the position, because once she took over the position, COVID came into play, and she hasn't been able to really research and do what she'd like to do with it. I don't know. I guess it's out there for people to say yes or no, but it sounds like it's going okay right now the way it is.
Well, I guess if she wants to, or you and her want to change some language or add some things to it, you have time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's so much changing the language or not. It's whether or not we should address it again, or just it's all according to what the board would prefer. Do you feel maybe it's a discussion we can talk with Fred when he comes at our next meeting?
Well, you remember, Kim, I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, and you had concerns about it, and I had questioned Bill again when I read it. I said, "Is Kim okay with it?" And so, I mean, obviously, I can't speak for the board, but if there's an issue and Michelle has a problem with it, or you have a problem with it, then we should address it, and then see how the board feels about it.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't think it's really a problem. It's whether or not the board still feels very strongly about becoming an appointed position versus an elected position. And so do you want to throw this back out there to the public like we went through it at town meeting? And do we want to collect the 8% and have it go to the town, or leave it as an elected position and the delinquent tax collector collects the 8%? I guess that's a decision for the board to make when it comes to the article. And like I said, maybe some guidance from Fred when he visits our select board on the 18th.
But it's too late by the 18th, isn't it?
Of January? No. Yeah, actually it is.
It is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because our articles need to be in by the 14th.
That's correct. Does anybody have any feeling about this? Other members?
We always had a system in place before, and then I remember the thing all going through while it was going to be a good idea to change it. Now all of a sudden, I guess it's not such a good idea.
Well, we can vote as members then. you got to remember, at town, it was voted down.
Right. Last year was voted down, and we had wanted to change it over at that time, but
Right, but then you got to go back to the history. Why was it going to be changed over and why not left alone? Maybe
because it was a recommendation. Actually, Fred had recommended that maybe that would be the route we want to go, because there are quite a few towns that do it this way, and they collect the 8%.
Yes.
And they keep it as an income coming into their general fund. And then I would take it on as treasurer, as a delinquent tax collector, or if the board chooses to appoint someone from like Michelle to continue it, and she would just work at it at an hourly rate and not collect the 8%. So,
Kim,
we
would
can
you
leave
be,
it. I guess we could leave it on there and just see what the town feels.
Yes.
Alan?
Would you be willing to talk to Fred between now and the 14th and get another read from him and make a recommendation to us on the 14th?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me reach out to him. He knows what transpired from the last town meeting, and maybe I can get his feeling as to should we revisit this again, or has the town spoken? And see what he thinks. So yeah, I'll try and do that tomorrow and reach out to Fred.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You got to remember that this is going to be a different situation, because if you had a live meeting, just like we had last time, you can make arguments for or against. Here, there's no argument for or against. You could do it on a pre-town meeting if anybody shows up. But if somebody just puts a no, it's a no, and it's gone. And you can't defend it, and you can't, other than what you can do at pre-town. So you never know what's going to happen. And, you know, that pertains to all the articles. That doesn't make any difference. I mean, so, but just keep that in mind.
Okay, I will talk to him and make sure he's aware that everything's by Australian ballot with a yes or a no, and is this something we should address this year?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think Alan's suggestion is right on.
I do think this discussion kind of points that the importance this year, particularly the importance of the informational meeting that we're getting ready for, doing a good job being prepared for that. But I also wonder if it also is important that we a little more proactive with writing something for the Grafton News. Why is this article? What's the select board's thinking here? That sort of thing. Because we're not going to have the opportunity of that open meeting, town meeting day.
Well, I agree with Alan. If there's any kind of controversial or any kind of articles that you're concerned about, and I worry a little bit about the capital budget, it would be a good idea to have some rebuttal in the Grafton News, so that because I don't know how many people are actually going to come to this Microsoft team meeting, and you really don't have the same opportunity as you do at a live meeting to defend it. So it might be a very good idea that we consider that.
Is there any way, with Wendy being on here, if we could do a special edition and actually explain each one of the articles? Is that anything possible?
Can't you just do that in a regular issue? I mean, does it have to be a special issue?
Well, I'm just wondering about taking up all your space.
Oh, I'd love, I would love it to be taken up with stuff like that and not thanking everybody all the time. The whole issue this month is thanking people. So it would be really nice to have news for a change. So yeah, I would love to have that in there. So. Okay,
so then in February, if Bill could get together something to explain each one of the articles in detail, as long as you don't mind the space.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely.
Well, I think that what you usually do at pre-town meeting is each of you take an article. There you go. Each of you write something on it, take an article, decide by the 14th which one you want to write on, split it among you, send them to me, and I'll put them all together.
But they've got to be very condensed and only 4 or 5 sentences. So you can't really, you don't want to say a whole lot about it, just the importance of it.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of there's really, of the 22 articles, there's probably only maybe 10 that are really critical. The rest of the stuff, you know, I mean, are just boilerplate. I mean, nobody's gonna vote no to collect your taxes 4 times a year. I mean, that kind of a thing. So, I think Bill's got a good idea. Maybe we, let everybody think about it, and let's, on the 14th, say, okay, I'm going to take number 2, who's going to take number 6, or whatever the case might be, and then we'll do a little blurb, and then Bill can kind of coordinate the whole thing and put it and send it over to Wendy. I mean, it's what we do anyway. That's what we've done in the past. So, is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Or so, are there any more discussion on the articles themselves, or whatever, or can we move on?
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the town meeting itself, the pre-meeting itself.
Okay, but I mean on the articles.
But go ahead, Al had some.
Al, go ahead.
Candidate forum is in red. How are we going to set that up? Are you going to have a candidates forum if there's only one candidate for a position? Seems like we could have some discussion and make a decision on that, or are we just going to decide we won't have one unless there's 2 candidates for a position?
Okay, that goes right into what I wanted to say, and I could just say it right here, right now. This is your meeting. How this is run is up to you guys, and that's why those things are in red. At the end of the meeting tonight, you should have, this is your agenda for that meeting. So at the end of that meeting, at the end of this meeting, you should fill out this agenda the way you want it. And by the way, Joe, you are the chair. You're running this meeting. This is a select board, not a select board meeting, but it is. This meeting belongs to the select board.
Right, but in the past, the meeting, yes, that is true. But in the candidates forum, the moderator always ran the candidates forum.
No.
Yeah, and he did.
I always thought he did too, but Dave won't.
Well, maybe it wasn't Dave last year. It was Chris.
I think we got Chris Wallace.
Chris Wallace ran it last year.
We did.
But the select board didn't run.
Well, it's up to you to organize that. Whatever you guys want to organize, you have to organize. This is your meeting. It's not the clerk's meeting. It's not the town moderator's meeting. It's your meeting.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
But we don't have to discuss that today. We can discuss that at the next meeting, I assume.
You don't need to have the agenda for this meeting until, what day did I give you? Sometime in February. Let me think. You need to have it like before the 10th of February. You need to have the agenda.
Correct.
Because that's when it has to be posted.
Right.
But I'd like to have a date as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, when I wrote my chairman's letter, the report, I looked at the calendar, and it looked to me like the obvious date would be the 23rd of February. Would be if we were having a normal town meeting, that would be it. I don't know if you want to do it on a Monday or you want to do it on a different date, but we need to we should come to an agreement, at least tonight, on what date do you want to have the candidates forum, if we have one, and which night do you want to have the meeting, pre-town meeting.
Can I just say historically, it's usually that Monday of the school vacation, which would be the 22nd of February. But that's what it's been. That's been historically when it's been, but.
Do we not have a select board meeting then, Kim?
I know your select board's the first and the third.
The select board meeting is.
So it would be.
It's on.
So February 1st, and then the 15th are your select board meetings, and then the 22nd.
Right.
Is the fourth Monday.
So the 22nd.
Isn't
The
that
Oh,
what?
first and third,
would be
okay.
would be a good day to have that pre-town meeting, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
22nd.
I make that motion.
I think, what is the motion?
That we have the pre-town meeting, informational meeting, and the candidates forum, if we have one, on that last month, that Monday, the 22nd or 23rd, whichever it is, of February.
22nd.
Yeah, 22nd.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Time, please.
6, right? No, that's usually do it at 6 PM, correct?
Yeah.
Is that 6?
6?
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of having the pre-town meeting and the candidates forum, if necessary, on the 22nd of February at 6 PM via Microsoft Teams? Say aye.
All right.
I,
Opposed?
Mr. Chair, can I just mention one thing about the articles before we move on? I am still waiting to hear back from Jack Breyer as to whether or not and I believe it's probably not going to happen, but there is a chance that there could be maybe another article or two, depending on if the school can pull budget figures together. It's a possibility, a slim one, but it could be. That's all. There may be another article put in there by the school.
Well, we would address that on the 14th, correct?
Exactly. But I'm just letting you know because what's lying here could, change.
But Jack's aware that we have to have it by the 14th.
Yes, he is. And that's why he thinks
Yeah.
that they may not make that deadline. And we could be looking at the same scenario as last year. We don't know yet.
So I guess if there's no other discussion on the articles, I guess what we should be doing is kind of take a look at the articles and see who wants to write this little blurb. And I'll do my homework as far as the agenda goes, and we can discuss this again on the 14th, and then on the next meeting, which is whatever it is in February or January, I guess. Is that okay? All right. Clerk and Treasurer, do you have anything else?
Not really. I think I sent everyone, or Bill sent everyone, a draft copy of our audit. And those should. I'm sorry. Did somebody not get one?
I don't think I got that. A draft?
Yeah, Bill would have sent it with the management letter. And that would have been about a week ago.
Yeah.
No longer than that.
Longer than that, week and a half ago.
I'll look.
Okay, maybe we'll have him send it tomorrow, or if he can't, then I can send it for you. But it's the draft, and things look pretty good. I don't foresee any changes, and we should be getting the final one probably as soon as we get the letter from Sullivan Powers where the select board signs off on it, and then they'll produce the hard copies for us. And then we'll make that available electronically on our website. I found it I was impressed going with the modified cash basis. It was easier to read this year. Made a lot of sense, looked a lot like what we already present as a balance sheet. And it looks just like our regular accounting system I use now. Pretty simple to read. I was happy with it, and figures came out pretty good. We're looking okay. Fred's supposed to, he was invited for the 18th, so hopefully he'll be here on the 18th to give his presentation.
That was a holiday, didn't we move that?
We moved it to the 19th, yes, and I told Fred the 19th, so as long as he can be first on the agenda. He does have another meeting that day, but he'll try and make ours. Still working on the town report. I pretty much have it organized. Michelle's been a huge help coming in after hours and helping organize it. Publication is going to be through Red House Press out of Springfield this year. I'd gotten a couple different quotes, and so I went with Red House Press. Hopefully we'll have town reports by the first week of February. And we don't mail them any longer. So the actual delivering of the town reports or their availability is probably just going to be the front porch. I'll set up a nice little table and people can just come and take them from the porch. The library is not open to the public, only for appointments, so I can't drop them at the library any longer. The town post office doesn't allow them in there. The store also doesn't have a sit-down availability or any place I can put them, so I think it's going to be the town hall porch.
Well, Kim, you might want to contact MKT. They might put up a little table or something for inside the store.
I can talk to June and see what she says about that. Still up in the air as to how I'm going to conduct the actual elections. I already know that our normal officers are elected by Australian ballot anyways, and now we will have our articles that way. Whether or not the legislature says we can send them out to all registered voters, that hasn't been determined yet. If at all possible, that's kind of the way I'd like to go, and that would cut down a lot on people having to contact me for an absentee. If I could just send them all in a mass mailing, and what I get back, and what I don't, I don't. And in that way there, I think it would alleviate a lot of people actually coming to physically to the town, to the brick meeting house to vote. Other than that, I think that's all I really have. I'm going to advertise, and I'm putting it in the town report, that I am please asking everybody, now that the doors are locked again, to please put their tax payments inside the door slot or mail them, and I am discouraging a cash payment. Cash payment is something that has to be done physically inside, and it's also handling the money. I just as soon stay away from that also for the safety of both parties. Dog license, I'm going to be printing the new dog license as of tomorrow. Forgot that it's already the beginning of the year. And again, that's going to be another challenge. Typically, everybody just pours in and pays for their dog and signs up for their dog. Again, I'm going to ask people if they already know that their dog is up to date on their rabies and they know that it's already a spayed or neutered, to just send me the $9 and I will in turn send them their license. If they are unsure of whether or not the dog needs their rabies shots, they're more than welcome to call and I can research that part of it. Again, that's the best way, other than having my door open to the public to swing at all times. I think that's the only thing I can. I have been busy with the grants. We had gotten a grant for the election material that we've been using for. We purchased the screen for the one-time use, the screen and the projector, and a laptop and a printer. So that has been one grant that we have been granted and awarded, and it's been fulfilled. The other was a $19,625 grant by the tax department for digitization of our records. So our land records have been digitized from, I'm on book 60 right now, and we go back as far as book 37. Thanks to Wendy, who has been coming in diligently, getting us back as far as we can and as far as the grant funds will take us. And this is going to be an ongoing project. I'd like to get it as far back so that researchers can just electronically go on and find whatever they want in the town hall by computer, rather than coming into the office for whatever the future holds. Yeah, that's it.
Kim, I got a
Yeah.
question for you.
Mm-hmm.
one point there was discussion about getting a tablet or some device for Danny for inventory and roads and maps, etc. And it sounded like you were going to check into that. Did that go anywhere?
Well, Danny and Bill both are going in the process of ordering laptops. Bill's working on that right now with Dominia, and Lenovo is the company he's going to go through. So Danny's desktop is almost obsolete, and the laptop doesn't work at all, and one of Bill's is also. So there will be 2 laptops coming. As for the notepad or the small tablet, Danny's going to check first with Wyndham Regional and see what their recommendations are, and if the program, I believe, unless it's changed course, the program that he needs on it for the culverts, is it something that they can actually put on this tablet? And Danny and I haven't had a chance with the holidays and all this COVID and everything. We haven't had a chance to visit that, but that was where it was left. He said it wasn't an emergency to get the tablet right yet, but we were going to follow up with Wyndham Regional.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else for Kim? If not, we'll go
I
into other
sent you
business.
I sent you guys the budget, all of you.
Okay,
You mean the audit? The audit?
the audit, you mean?
Bill, did you mean the audit?
The audit,
Okay.
yes.
Before we go into other business, I'd like to talk about the firewood situation. I didn't put it on the agenda because I felt that if you do want to do that, we'll put it on for the meeting on the 19th, because it wasn't warned, and if people do have comments, they should be able to come in and discuss it with adequate notice. However, I would like to make a recommendation to the board to consider this, and that is, I think it's a waste of time to have a meeting with the interested parties, because we have no authority to deal with noise or whatever, and Act 250 doesn't even want to deal with us when it comes to the safety of the old CIC building. So my suggestion would be is that we ask Bill to craft a letter to the individuals who registered a complaint, explaining the situation in detail. We don't have the warrants, we don't have the ordinances, we don't have this and we have that, and explaining that it really is Act 250, and they should go to the Act 250 and get a ruling from them. And then I would like Bill to send a letter, the same letter that goes to the individuals, to everybody concerned, including the governor, Act 250, because they have stonewalled us. They have no consideration of, they pass these laws, but they don't enforce them. And we're just going to spend time with irate citizens that we can't do anything about. And I think that would be more effective. However, if you don't agree, then we can put it on the agenda. That was just a suggestion I had. Don't all speak at once.
Was it just that one complaint, Joe?
I don't know. You have to ask Bill. I know there was one. I don't know if there was more.
I haven't heard any other.
Just that
Other
one.
than myself, I've complained about it forever,
Right.
but no one else has complained.
But if it was laid out in writing to the individual, explaining the whole situation with a little history of the CIC building, what Act 250, I mean, I understand the noise complaint, but there was more serious issues with that, and they kind of stonewalled us on that one. So I can't see them, because they not, according to the Act 250 permit, they're not allowed to do what they're doing.
Well, the operation is in the floodway or the floodplain, Bill?
He's moving. It's in the floodway right now, but he's moving his logs forward into the floodplain. But I've talked to the state floodplain manager. He doesn't care. I've talked to all of them. I've talked to all the enforcement from Act 250. And when we started this with the solar field and we complained about the building having those vans in the floodway, I was told that it's an Act 250 matter and therefore the state had jurisdiction over the floodplain and floodway. And then I was told about 4 months ago that no, we could enforce the floodplain. So I asked them to put that in writing that we could enforce it because I didn't want us to start and then they jump in. And I wrote to him. I wrote to Tim McNamara, to the lady in charge of District 2 in permits and enforcement, and to ANR and to the to another agency. And not only did I never got a reply from any of them. And he doesn't have no one in that building that I know of down there now. And it's really just the owner of the building. And I don't know if there's still some guy making something or another up toward the front. And this guy out in the parking lot. There isn't anybody. There's no one down there with a permit. No one's had a permit since the building was left by the contractor, John. Who was it? The last big business down there? Since they left, no one has gotten the permit ever.
CIC.
And they don't care. And Act 250 does not care.
So how does everybody feel? Do you want me to put it on the agenda or do you want to let it written?
Well, maybe if you put it on the agenda, maybe the wood guy would come in and the complainant would come in. I don't know if it's worth it, but at least you're trying to do something about it.
What are we going to tell the wood guy he can't do?
I'd just say put it on the agenda. I don't know, and then we can discuss it. I have no idea. Or are you just going to let it go?
No, I don't want to let it go. What I want to do is have a letter drafted to the individual who made the complaint, and then go explaining the situation that it's where we have our issues, where we can't do the enforcement, and then that letter goes to the Act 250 people and let them deal with the Act 250 people and let them tell them. And you can send a copy to the firewood guy, and you can send a copy to anybody who you think you want to send it to, and let them deal with the state, because you're just going to waste time, because nothing's going to happen.
What's the exact complaint? I know it's noise, but of what? What is making the noise?
He works from 7 to 7.
Yeah, but what is making the noise? Is it a big circular saw?
He cuts his wood into firewood and splits it right there on the site.
I know what he's doing, but what is making the noise? Is it a big circular saw? What is actually producing the noise? And what my point is, because can that be encapsulated in some sort of a building, with an exit and a discharge? Can the saw be put in a building?
Yeah, he and what's the Best Septic are talking. They would like to buy the building together. Best Septic would move into the front with all his and put all his potty boxes inside, all his porta potties inside, because he knows they're ugly to look at. And he would then have the back end of the building would be for the wood making guy, and he would do all his cutting and processing in the building. That's what their plan is, when if they can get that done. And so that's where they are with McKay. They've been talking about it. The Best Septic, Ruggiero, he's been talking about it with McKay, and has some representation to go forward with it. He's also talked to the Regional Commission to see if there is really grant money to do that air purification for about 130 grand, and if he can get grant money to do that. So that's processing. That's why I don't want to when we don't have anything to tell the logger, why do we want to go after the logger? We don't have anything to say to him.
Yeah, I agree.
You know? He makes
I just
noise.
think there should be a way to enclose it or something, yeah.
Well, there is a way to enclose it. He's got to
Right.
get the building.
Right. Well, to be determined. Let it go and see see where the,
Well, I don't think we should let it go. Either you're going to bring them in and have them come in and talk to the group, or send a letter. Either way, but I think if we do nothing, I think that looks bad for us.
yeah. That's why I said, I think you ought to have the wood processor, have the complainant come in, and maybe the owner of the building, McCabe, or whoever it is down there, with the plan of possibility of trying to get all this stuff with some sort of noise abatement.
Good
No,
luck.
McKay will never come in.
No.
Good luck. Good luck. You're just going to spend 15, 20 minutes of your time of your select board meeting that you could be doing something else, but
Yeah.
it's up to everybody.
Let's not make it complicated. Why don't we do what Joe wants to do? Because we could carry on for another 10 meetings on this, and let's give it back to the state and let them worry about it.
Well, but you know what's going to happen if it goes back to the state. They're not going to do anything, apparently.
At
Well,
least,
what are we gonna do?
at least you've documented that you've written the letters and you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's, that we've done that.
Yes.
Well, does somebody want to make a motion, or how do we want to proceed? I'll do it either way. It's up to the board.
So I
I
make
make
the
a
motion.
motion.
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead, Kathy, you start it.
I make the motion that Bill can write a letter to the governor and Act 250 or whoever needs to hear it.
But
there-
also to the complainer, the person.
And the complainant, right?
Right.
And maybe Bill, summarize what you've already done in the past, so the gentleman knows that Grafton has tried to get this noticed and that they're not following the regulations.
He could also send some of the copies of some of the letters that we had done as backup, so that they would know.
Right.
Do we have a second to this motion?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Might send a copy to the new representative we have there in Saxon's River.
Oh, I'd send it to everybody.
Well, Leslie,
Carol Partridge.
Both
and
of those will get a copy of. That's what I sent it to before.
Yeah. Everybody.
Correct.
Send it to everybody who, anybody who is in government has ignored the whole situation, I think would get a copy. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no further discussion, everybody in favor say aye.
all right.
Opposed? Do we have any other business?
On a future meeting, can we put the tree warden on? I have some more information.
Oh, good.
I talked with a person that helped craft the recent law, and Bill sent us something, and that was correct, but there is another little piece at the end that probably took place later in the meeting, if it happened at all. But there's a little bit more to the story, so I'd like to bring that to another meeting.
If you want to do this, Alan, do you want to do it at the next meeting, which is on the 19th, or do you want to do it on the 1st of February? You tell me.
Real big hurry, so I mean, if we've got a lot of stuff on the agenda for the next meeting, it can wait till the next one after that.
All right, well, Bill will make a note, and I'll remind Bill, and well, let's see what the agenda comes to, and certainly add it to the agenda, not a problem.
Okay.
Any other business? Okay, if not, do we have any public comment? No public comment? Okay. All right, so we need a motion now to enter into executive session for a personnel matter.
I'll make that motion.
Somebody want to second that?
Second,
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of entering into an executive session for personnel matters, say aye.
All right.
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, okay. All righty, so whoever is on, Danny, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, because you want to be involved in this, so you should stay on.
Okay.
But everybody else needs to get off. They'll stop the recording, I guess.
I will right now.
So the only individual other than the board should be on it, besides Bill, obviously, it should be Danny.
Oh,
Who's FT?
Fact TV.
Oh, okay.
Who's H?
And who's,
Hardy, Nancy, and Galen are still on.
yeah, they need to get off.
Yeah, in fact, TV. They'll get off. Fact TV may not know we are going into executive session.
You can't kick them out, Bill? You can't do that?
Oh, I can, yeah. I can.
Well, Hardy and are still on,
The Galen's.
and Galen's still on.